January 27th, 2026. Two economic giants that refused to speak to each other for 20 years just signed the largest trade deal in history. The European Union and India. 2 billion people. A quarter of global GDP. A quarter of all world trade. Connected in a single free trade zone, overnight. For 2 decades, these negotiations went nowhere. Europe demanded environmental standards and human rights reforms. India refused to budge on agricultural and automotive tariffs. Both sides were too proud, too stubborn, too comfortable. Then everything changed. Not because they suddenly liked each other, because they're terrified. Donald Trump is back, and his universal baseline tariff, a club he's swinging at the entire world, is forcing former enemies to become allies. Europe is exhausted from war with Russia and betrayed by its American protector. India, trying to become the world's factory with Make in India, faces American tariff walls that could kill growth overnight. So they did what they had to do. They grabbed each other's hands and formed a survival pact. This isn't economic cooperation. It's economic rebellion, and it signals one thing. The American-led global order is collapsing. 20 years. That's how long the EU and India stared at each other across the negotiating table without reaching a deal. Europe kept raising the bar. Environmental standards, human rights compliance, labor regulations. India kept saying no, refusing to lower agricultural tariffs, refusing to open automotive markets, refusing to compromise sovereignty. It was a stalemate built on pride. But stalemates only last until survival becomes more important than ego. And in 2026, survival became the only thing that mattered. The turning point? Trump's unpredictability. Trump isn't just raising tariffs. He's threatening to weaponize market access itself. Want to sell to America? Pay more. Europe is reeling. The continent is drained from managing the war with Russia. Energy costs have skyrocketed. Industrial output is stagnating. And now the ally Europe relied on for security, the United States, is turning its back and demanding payment. India faces the same nightmare. Modi wants to transform India into the world's factory. But if the US raises tariff barriers, India's growth engine stalls. Both realized if America closes its doors, we need our own market. So they made the deal, not because they trust each other, because they both fear Trump. Here's how dramatic this deal is. India agreed to reduce tariffs on European cars from 110% to 10%, gradually but definitively, 110%. That means the tax on a car was higher than the price of the car itself. If you wanted to import a 100,000 euro Mercedes into India, you paid 110,000 euros in tariffs alone. India just agreed to nearly eliminate that. In exchange, Europe agreed to completely remove tariffs on Indian leather goods and textiles, products now being crushed by Trump's tariffs. This isn't just economic cooperation, it's a message. If America won't buy from us, we'll buy from each other. 2 billion people, no tariffs between them. For businesses, this creates a massive safety net, an alternative to the US market. But here's what we need to understand. Why did this happen so fast? Normally, massive FTAs like this take years to implement after being signed. Ratification, legal review, parliamentary approval. But this time, the urgency is palpable. Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, recently visited China. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer did the same. Europe is signing with India at lightning speed. It's a global race to build defenses against Trump. Like boarding up windows before a hurricane, every major economy is scrambling to reduce dependence on the United States. For years, India was one of the most protectionist markets in the world, especially for cars. India's automotive tariffs were a fortress. 110% meant foreign automakers couldn't compete. So why did Modi's government voluntarily tear down that wall? Because Modi isn't just protecting India's market. He's building India into the next global manufacturing hub. Not a second China, better than China. But here's the problem. You can build all the factories you want. If no one buys your products, you fail. Trump's America is locking the door. Made in USA only. So India turned to Europe. If Europe removes tariffs on Indian textiles, leather, and apparel, India's manufacturing sector gets wings. Europe is famous for strict environmental and quality standards. By signing this deal, India isn't just gaining market access. India is gaining Europe's capital, Europe's technology standards, and Europe's green manufacturing processes all at once. India's calculation: lower car tariffs in exchange for European advanced manufacturing expertise. The goal? Raise the quality of made in India products to European standards, then sell them globally. And there's another dimension. India has the world's youngest, most talented IT workforce. This agreement doesn't just cover goods, it covers people. Expanded mobility for skilled professionals. If India's software power combines with Europe's hardware manufacturing capability, This goes beyond trade. It's a bid for next-generation industrial leadership, not led by the United States, led by India and Europe. Europe used to have the perfect setup: cheap energy from Russia, a massive consumer market in China, security guaranteed by the United States. It was comfortable, stable, profitable. Now, at war with Russia, trade tensions with China, and America, under Trump, is demanding higher defense spending and threatening tariffs. Europe is suffocating. In this situation, India is Europe's escape hatch, its last line of defense. 1.4 billion people, a middle class with exploding purchasing power. For European companies, India is a gold mine they can't afford to lose, especially for Germany's premium car brands: Audi, BMW, Mercedes. The 110% tariff was a wall of tears. Reducing it to 10% means German cars can flood Indian streets. But it's not just about selling more products. Europe desperately needs supply chain diversification. For years, Europe depended on China for manufacturing and components. That dependence is now a strategic vulnerability. India offers an alternative. India has abundant rare earth minerals and critical resources. And crucially, India is a democracy, a partner that shares European values. Europe isn't just looking for a market. Europe is looking for a lifeline. The United States is visibly rattled. The EU-India alliance sends a powerful message to global investors. Capital is ready to flow away from America into a new megablock. When a deal that stalled for 20 years suddenly gets signed, it means the parties were desperate, and that desperation will translate into fierce execution. But there's a darker question no one is asking. We are witnessing a massive restructuring of the world order we've been taught and grown accustomed to. What this restructuring will lead to, we still don't know. Europe has spent recent years choosing collapse, dependent on Chinese capital and Russian energy, hollowing itself out from within. The Chinese market Europe relied on? China's economic slowdown crushed European sales. Struggling European companies are now being sold off to Chinese firms, a vicious cycle of capital erosion. The Russian energy Europe depended on? The war ended cheap supply. European citizens now suffer under high energy costs. European manufacturers can no longer produce competitively, and now Europe is turning to India. But here's the problem. India is a member of BRICS, the economic bloc alongside China and Russia, Europe's competitors. Europe is forming an alliance with a nation that belongs to the very coalition working to dismantle Western dominance. To put out the immediate fire, Europe is grabbing India's hand. But this might be a trap Europe can't escape from. A larger crisis disguised as a solution. This could be a poisoned chalice. If Europe hasn't learned from its past mistakes, dependence on Russia, dependence on China, then Europe has no future. Because the pattern is repeating. Europe is once again choosing short-term relief over long-term strategy. And history doesn't forgive those who refuse to learn. By signing a trade deal stalled for 20 years in a matter of weeks under the threat of Trump-era tariffs, Europe and India set a precedent. When America turns inward, others build their own bloc. Canada takes note and flies to Beijing. The UK takes note and pivots toward Asia. Every country shut out of Trump's America begins constructing alternatives. Europe and India, once too proud to compromise, have now shown that survival outweighs sovereignty. The problem was never the negotiation. Trump changed the incentives. The global economic order isn't breaking because of war or revolution. It's breaking because America, under Trump, is choosing isolation over leadership. And when the hegemon walks away, alliances form overnight. Enemies become partners. 20-year deadlocks get resolved in weeks. If you want to see how the world is reorganizing itself in real time, not in theory, but in signed treaties, tariff schedules, and capital flows, subscribe to Endgame Economics. Because by the time this restructuring is taught in textbooks, it'll already be over, and you'll either have seen it coming or been left behind. See the shift. Stay prepared, stay ready.